Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm going to turn this off quick. Hi, sorry. I'm Melanie Mirzayan, owner of Wild Bakes and Cakes. Thank you for joining me in this class. Today, we are going to learn how to make chalkboard cupcakes. They are super fun. They can be super interactive with kids. They love playing with them, and then at the end, essentially eating their dessert. I don't know where you guys are located, but if you're in Texas like me, the weather has been crazy. It's been really hot. It's been very humid. And the bad news is Fondant actually hates humidity. So we'll see how it goes today while we're working with Fondant. So hopefully it will behave for this class. With that said, let's jump right in and let's go to the top-down camera, please. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go over all the things that we're going to need for this class. Obviously, we're going to need our cupcakes and our buttercream. And if you already assembled your cupcake and you put the buttercream on there, that's great. I'll go ahead and take a couple minutes, show everybody, especially if you're a beginner, how to do a quick piping and get your frosting on the cupcakes. And you are also going to need your black fondant. Now with fondant, you have two options. You can either get the pre-made one, which is already colored, which I prefer, especially for black colors or deep red colors, or you can get the white one and then you can color it yourself. That one gets a little bit tricky, especially if you're a beginner. Sometimes you have to put a lot just to get the shade that you need. So I recommend going with this kind. Michael's also has a smaller packet one. So it just all depends on what size project you're working on. If your dessert's gonna be super small and you don't have, or you don't need a lot of fondant, that it's better to go with something smaller, because unfortunately fondant doesn't really keep that long, especially if you don't seal it properly. I can't speak, sorry. So it's better to go with this one. Outside of the fondant, you're going to need your cutters, and this is where you can have a lot of fun and be super creative. Essentially, it's whatever you want to do. The goal is to make sure you're covering the top of your cupcake. So it could be a round cutter, star kind of shaped cutters, heart ones for like Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, pretty much anything that you want to do. Then for our chalk portion of it, I'm going to show you a couple different ways of doing it. One, the easiest way is just to use white chocolate. Michael's has these in different colors, which they're awesome. There's like a bazillion different shades that you can buy, and it's ultimately whatever you want to do, how creative you want to be. I just picked the white one for today just to show you guys how it works. With the meltables for this one in particular, just a couple side notes, things that I have learned when I was trying to melt them and work with them. If you are a beginner and you haven't really worked with this kind of chocolate, they recommend you setting your microwave at 50% power and start it off with 1 minute. And then you take it out and you mix it. And then you go into the 30-second increments at 50% power. So here's something to keep in mind. When you're using glass microwavable bowl, the bowl also gets hot. So when you do your 1 minute, make sure you give the chocolate a good mix, because sometimes that's enough depending on how much chocolate you put in for it to completely melt. So you don't need to go into the 30-second increments, because if you keep going and not give it a proper mix, you're going to end up burning your chocolate, and you don't want to do that. So again, for this class, we're going to need our chocolate. And I will show you guys another way. This is my favorite way of painting on the chalk, is actually using a paintbrush and white food coloring. And it's super fun. Again, very creative. You could kind of do whatever design you want to do. I'll show you guys. These are some of the ones that I did, and my son was actually helping with some of them. He had so much fun doing it. Okay, and so with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to do the frosting first. So we're gonna frost the cupcake real quick, just so you guys could see how that works. Then we're gonna go ahead and roll out our fondant. I'm gonna clean up this mess a little bit. Okay, here's a quick little tip on frosting your cupcake. If you are by yourself and you don't have a secondhand help, you can grab a tall glass, plastic glass, it doesn't matter, cup, I mean. And once you get your bag, your piping bag, here is what I got from Michael's. They're awesome. They have the 12-inch, which is the smaller one. They also have 16-inch one, that's a bigger one. I like the bigger options for stuff like this just because it gives me a lot more room in the bag to work with and things don't start spilling out. So for this class, I have this fun tip that's the size is 1M. And technically you can get whatever tip you want. You can even have no tip and just use your bag to pipe your cupcakes. So for this little head, all you have to do is just pop in the tip all the way down. So it's nice and snug. And what you want to do is you want to cut the bag, not on the lines or the tip section, but a little bit over. And you don't want to go all the way up because then your tip will pop out when you're squeezing the frosting out. So with my scissors, I'll just go ahead and just kind of give it a little cut, just like that, and pull it up and it just comes right off. So now you have your tip, you have your bag, and we're gonna open up the bag. You're gonna use your cup, set that in here, and kind of put the bag over the edge. And now you have a solid piece where you can put in your buttercream. You can just scrape it right in there. Just like that. And here's a little fun thing that I do that works for me is once you pull it out of the cup, give it a nice good like pop like that and your buttercream will slide down, and then you can use your finger just to kind of squeeze everything down just like that. Okay, and then you grab the top of your frosting and you can twist it a couple times just to get a nice good grip like that. Now you're ready to go. Here's your cupcake. And this is where there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Essentially is however you want to do it. But I normally start from the center and I'll squeeze and I'll go sideways, like round clockwork like that, all the way out. And you can kind of build up if you want it to be a little bit higher, and then you just pop it up just like that. This is super easy. It's cute. Essentially, you're going to cover it with your chalkboard topping, so you're not really going to see all the design here. So again, you know, maybe for something like this, you can just use the bag and not use any tips just to make it simple. All right, so we have our cupcake. I'm actually going to do one more just to have a couple of different ones to work with. Quick. And again, from the center, squeeze, and then round and round. And you can actually kind of see a rose shape is forming too. But that's a different class. All right. I'm going to put this away. So now we want to roll out our fondant. And the key here is to make sure the fondant kind of sets a little bit. So we're going to pop it into the fridge for a few minutes just to get it a little bit on the hard side. Again, humidity here, we'll see how it goes. But you want it to be a little bit more solid, so when you're writing on it with your chocolate, it actually works well. So I'm going to take this one. I have a bigger box just because I use a lot of this stuff. If you're doing a small little project, again, it's best if you get a smaller bag. All right, you get your fondant out. And a little bit of a side note here, if it's starting to get a little bit crusty, all you can use is Crisco shortening, vegetable shortening, and just put a little bit on there and kind of play with it like Play-Doh, and it should loosen it up a little. And also, if it's starting to stick to the surface that you're working with, you can rub a little bit of the shortening on there as well. And that'll give you a good solid surface to work with, and things won't be sticking. I have my small roller, and this is what I wanted to show you guys last class, which I didn't have it with me, is with the small rollers, and I think the big ones also have them too, and Michael's has like all the sizes that you can get, but the small one is great for little projects like this. But these little rubbery things on the side, they pop off, and what this does, it gives you an even kind of width for your dough or for your fondant. So one side doesn't get, too flat, and then the other side's kind of like bumpy and lumpy. So this kind of rolls it out evenly. And again, the rubbers come in different sizes. So it just depends on what project you're working on. But for today, I'm going to pop these guys in. So you put them on the corner, just like that, and you start rolling out your fondant. And the thickness that we're looking for this purpose is you don't want the fondant to be super thin, because then you'll have something flimsy and it's not going to work. And you don't want it to be super thick. So just thick enough where you can pick it up and it's not, falling all over the place. Fondant doesn't normally get super, super hard. So you'll be able to eat it afterwards. A lot of people don't like to eat fondant. I do, just because I'm weird like that. But you can mix in gum paste with fondant. And what that will do is that will harden up your fondant a lot firmer for certain projects. But unfortunately, when it becomes like super firm, then you can't eat it. That point is just decoration. So hopefully that kind of helped you guys on little tips and tricks that I have learned. But we'll go ahead and roll this out. Make sure you guys can see it. Oops, putting stuff on my finger. And once you get the thickness that you're okay with, then you can go ahead and start using your cutters to like cut away. So we'll do the round one for this one, and you just cut it out and move it aside. And essentially, you're going to have a bigger piece when you roll this out, so you don't have to constantly pick up your fondant and roll it out and cut one more and just.
Melody, someone is wondering about how thick do you want it if you were to measure it?
Honestly, I don't know exact measurements like that. I usually go off of like thickness when I hold it, if that helps. I don't know if they can kind of see the thickness here. So I'll do one that's like super thin, and hopefully that'll help them visually. So if we go super thin here, see how it like falls apart, and it's just kind of like very loose and very thin. And this one is a little bit thicker. It's not, flapping around that much. If you just don't know, I would say go thicker. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Hopefully that helped. All right, so we're gonna do one more cutout, and I already have some pre-cuts I could show you guys how that works, and we'll do the heart one. Pop that out. And what you want to do next is you want to put them on a flat tray and pop them into the fridge. So they can kind of get stiff and hard. So when you pull it out, you can start using your chalk and write on the surface. And while these guys are in the fridge, we can go ahead and get our paint and our chalk ready. And again, with fondant, make sure that you guys cover it immediately in a plastic bag. It's supposed to be airtight, or else this thing will dry out eventually and you won't be able to use it. So I'm going to put this in my little bag. All right. So for our cute little chalk experiment here, you're going to need a straw. Make sure to go a little bit on the thicker side and not use like the typical ones that you could get from the grocery stores that are super thin for drinks. That's really not going to work. So the thicker, the better. Obviously, you don't want it to be like ginormous, the really, really big ones. But again, thicker, the better. And what you want to do is go ahead and melt your chocolate, which I already have. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our chocolate melted. And you want this to be nice and runny. You don't want it to be lumpy, because then you're going to have problems while you're trying to squeeze it into this little straw. Then you're going to use your piping bag, the small 12-inch one, because you don't need a really big one for this one. For piping your cupcakes, you do want to go bigger on the bags, but for something like this that's super small, a small bag does just fine. And what else you're going to need before you go ahead and do the chocolate is you need another cup with a little bit of sugar in there, because once you fill in your straw with your chocolate, you want to make sure it doesn't drip out from the other end, and this kind of prevents it from doing that. So we'll put our straw in our, not salt, sorry, in the sugar, just like that. Then we're going to fill in our chocolate inside our bag, just like that. And you can use the cup technique I showed you guys earlier for the frosting, like put it in a cup, then put in your chocolate. But this is easy, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. All right. Once you get it in there, then go ahead and wrap it up, like the plastic up, squeeze down your chocolate as much as you can. We're going to twist it again, just so we have a nice little grip. Now we want to cut the tip here. We don't want it to be super big, so everything, the chocolate pours out. The goal is essentially we're going to shove in our bag inside the straw, and we're going to squeeze in the chocolate until the chocolate fills up the whole straw. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go small because I don't want to overdo it. And you can always cut bigger, but if you cut bigger, then you can't go smaller, unfortunately. All right, I'm going to give it a squeeze out. Now that's too thin, so we want this to be a little bit thicker, right? So I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit more, like that. All right, and now it's coming out nicely. Okay, so now we will put in the tip inside our straw all the way in, just like that. I don't know if you guys can see it. And we're going to squeeze in the chocolate. See how it's rolling down the straw all the way down, and we are done with that one. I can just kind of clean up the tip just like that. I always use my hands for stuff, and then I have the zillion napkins and paper towels everywhere. But I'll show one more just so you guys could see it. Again, put in the tip inside your straw. Oops, sorry, moving the camera. And then we're gonna again give it a good squeeze while it fills up our straw all the way down. All right. So now we're gonna pop the straws and our fondant in the fridge for a few minutes. For the chocolate, you can pop it in the fridge for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, or you can put it in the freezer for less than that. It doesn't really need a lot of time for it to firm up, and that's what we're kind of looking for, a little, for it to be hard enough for us to pop it out. So I'm gonna put this aside, and I already have some pre-made, so I'll be right back. All right. So we have our, this is, see how it's nice and kind of more solid coming out of the fridge. Eventually this will come down to room temperature and it'll be a little bit flimsy. So we want to work a little bit faster with this just to make sure we have a nice clean area to draw our stuff. And I will show you. So these are the straws, and I'll show you guys how to pop them out real quick. All right, put all this here. There's another one, and here's my heart one that we did earlier. All right. So to get the chocolate out of the straw, you would have to run it under warm water for about 10 seconds, literally not that long, because you don't want it to melt. You want it to be loose enough so you can pop it out. You can use one of, I think they're like skewer sticks, but something like this to put it up, shove it in the hole, and then squeeze it out. See how it just comes out like that. Well, mine is kind of hard, but once you guys squeeze it out, it'll pop out from this end. You can, before you do that, you can also cut it in half and then try to get it out. So see, that's our chalk, and I already have some made. So this is going to be our chalk, and we will write on our chalkboard cupcake little pieces. Here's the fun starts. All right, so we have our surface. And you guys could technically do whatever you want to draw. You can write names on there. You can draw butterflies, literally whatever you guys feel like doing. And we're just going to do maybe write the word love. Oops, I broke my chalk. To bring this up, you guys can kind of see. Here's the just a simple concept. You can draw a sun if you like to. You don't want to push it down so hard. So you want it to kind of glide over the surface. And you'll get the feel for it when you're actually doing the work. You could fill it in. And if you made a mistake, no big deal. Sometimes with your finger, you can kind of like rub it off just like that. Erase it off, or you can use like a paper towel and kind of clean it up. And again, I'm using white chocolate, but the same technique literally applies to like any color you want to do. So you can make this as colorful as you want, or keep it white, whatever works for you. The kids love it. So ultimately, it doesn't matter. And once you decorated your piece, you wrote what you want to write on there, then all you have to do is you pop it on to your cupcake. And now you have a cute little chalkboard cupcake with fun messages. So that's one way of doing it. The second way you can use, if you don't want to mess with the whole straw thing, you can literally use the chocolate from the bag and make sure it's cold. That's the key. You have to make sure your chocolate's cold. Crack it in half. Just like that. And now this also becomes your chalk essentially. So you can use that and write whatever you want. It's easier when you have a smaller, thinner piece to do like letters and like cute little squirrely things. Ultimately, just whatever you want to do and work with. So that's kind of the chalk version of it. My favorite version is the painting of it. So for that one, we will use white food coloring. And all you have to do is get a little bit out on a tray, just like that. A lot of people will also use vodka to kind of thin it out. Sometimes that doesn't end up working well because it starts smearing everywhere. So you just kind of need to see what your paint is like, how thick it is, and then gauge it from that perspective, whether do I need to thin this out or can I just go ahead and use my paintbrush and start painting. And the paintbrush size, it totally depends on you guys. I like mine to be on the thinner, smaller size because I have a lot more control over writing letters or drawing small, skinny things. But if I wanted to, paint, for example, half of this heart, then I would probably use a thicker brush just to make it easier. So, and what you would do essentially, I'm gonna flip this guy over. Oh, here's another trick. If you guys completely mess up one side and you can't erase it off, you can essentially flip it over and you have nice clean space to do some other artwork. And once you put it on a cupcake, it kind of doesn't matter because nobody sees the other side essentially. And for this method, what you would do is you would just kind of dip in your paintbrush. It's literally just like painting, and you can start painting whatever you want or drawing whatever you want on your piece. And maybe we'll do like a swirly little design. I don't know, we'll do little dots. You can play tic-tac-toe if you want on here. That's another fun thing, interactive desserts with kids. They can be all involved and you can turn this into a game or an artwork and they can kind of do their little pieces and then be able to eat it afterwards. My son absolutely loves it. So you guys kind of see the technique here. Using your paintbrush, you could do a lot smaller pieces, smaller lines. And if you are into arts and crafts and you already do paint and draws, this would be super easy for you and you would love it. But essentially that's kind of the goal of using black fondant as chalkboard and then using chocolate for your chalk, or you could take it a step further and essentially paint on it with white paint. So hopefully this gave you guys a good idea of how this works. It doesn't have to be essentially cupcakes. You can cut your fondant and place them on cookies. So if you are making cookies, you can kind of see what the shape the cookie is. If you use the cookie cutter to cut the cookies, you can use that same cutter for your fondant and cut away the pieces. And essentially when the cookie is baked, you could put it on there and start painting or drawing, whatever you want to do with that. And I'm not sure, I think we are a little bit early. Is there anything you guys want to see right now, or you have any questions, or you want me to show you any other techniques with this? I would love to open this up to you guys right now for whatever questions you guys might have that I can help with. And I'm going to go ahead and start painting another piece. So we have our heart, we have our circle, and let's see, I wrote love. And you could do a thicker, you could do thinner lines, you can do dots. You have full control, and you would have to let this kind of sit and dry if you want to move it around or touch it, where if you use the chocolate version, it's already on there. It's not going to really smear or go anywhere unless you purposely are trying to like erase it off the black fondant. And let me show you guys. Here's another piece. So little, again, side note with chocolate, your body heat will start to melt the chocolate the longer you hold the chocolate. So essentially, again, you want to work kind of fast with this, or if you are drawing something, go ahead and draw it like this. And then you're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do next? Put the chocolate down, think about what you're doing, and then pick it up and go ahead and continue with your work. Or you can, they have special gloves that you can wear to work with chocolate so it doesn't melt. Because essentially once it starts melting, it becomes really hard to play with it or draw anything on the fondant. And the fondant, again, it will start to kind of settle into room temperature. So it will be a little bit on the flimsy side after a while. And at that point, it does become a little bit harder to work with. So that's why we want to make sure they're nice and cool, cold, or firm to do our artwork. And again, you know, there's no need to panic if it starts to kind of like loosening up and you have a lot of them to do. Pop them back in the not freezer, in the fridge for a little bit, bring it back out and kind of continue doing it that way. But that's pretty much what you would do with this concept. Any question, guys? Or is there anybody who's done these before and you have maybe a different technique that you use? I would love to hear it.
Someone is wondering, is it best stored in the fridge?
Yes. So once it's done, you can put it back in the fridge. Again, if you are like middle of winter and you're taking this to a party, it doesn't matter. It could sit on the counter. It's totally fine. But if it's kind of like Texas and it's really hot and you're taking these to parties or trying to have people over and kind of entertain with them, I would keep them in the fridge until it's time to bring them out. It's definitely not going to go bad per se, where it's going to like make you sick or anything like that. It's just the whole purpose is to keep them kind of solid, especially if you don't mix in gum paste. After a while, they do become kind of flimsy. As you can see, it's kind of like bending down. But once you put them on Cupcake, for the most part, it does hold its shape. After a while, it will dry out and kind of chill. But things to kind of know to prepare if you're taking these to, like I said, to parties and stuff. I hope that helped.
Yeah, another question we have is do you have to use sugar since the chocolate milk is already very sweet?
Well, the sugar, it's not so much to sweeten the chocolate, it's for the purpose of the chocolate not running out or coming out of the straw when you pour it freshly, nice and warm. It helps it to stop, or else it'll just kind of like bleed into the cup. And that's all it's for. It doesn't change, you know, it doesn't do anything for like flavor or make it sweet or anything like that. You don't have to put the sugar in your cup and kind of see, but sometimes my experience has been every time I put it in the straw, it does come out at the end and then it becomes kind of hard. Then you have to like peel it off and it's just a lot more work, but it's not a deal breaker essentially, if you use it or if you don't. I hope that helped. Any other questions, guys? I'm trying to think of all the things that I have done wrong to share that with you, so you guys kind of don't do the same mistakes. But again, from my experience, the problems I had was, you know, holding the chocolate longer, it starts to melt, especially you're in like a humid kind of hot weather, which we are here in Texas. Making sure your fondant is nice and firm. You can cut these ahead of time and keep them in the fridge for like a month, and then bring it out and then decorate your cupcakes. And again, you know, it doesn't have to be a cupcake. It's just a technique that I wanted you guys to learn, and you can implement this to literally to anything, any other desserts. You can be as creative as you want with these. And that's kind of the fun part. I have not tried a different color fondant and maybe darker color chocolates to see if the same concept works. I don't think it does, but if you guys do end up trying it, let me know. I would love to hear the stuff that you guys do and the challenges you guys face. You can always message me on Wild Bakes with any questions or concerns. Ultimately, I would love to see what you guys come up with. So if you guys tag me, I'll be able to see that as well. I know we're a little bit early, so I wanted to kind of give you guys some time to ask questions, and if you have any concerns or if something wasn't clear, just so we can have open dialogue. All right. Well, if we are all good and you guys are kind of clear on how to make all of this work, if you don't mind, we can end the class early. Or again, I'm here to answer any questions. So you guys let me know if you're ready to go, we can wrap it up. If not, let's dig deeper into this. Any comments? All right. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I don't know why it's doing the noise thing. Joining me today for this class. We are, let's see, you can tag when you do your work. I would love to see what you guys do, and you can always use the hashtag for Michael's classes or make it with Michael's, or you could do Wild Bakes, and I'll be able to see what you guys have done. Don't forget to go and sign up for my other classes that are coming up. I have one coming up next Tuesday. I believe it's at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, and everything gets posted on Michael's, and I also share it on my Instagram, which is Wild Bakes. Thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful to give you guys a solid understanding of how these things work. They're super easy and fun. It's really not that hard, and you can be very creative with the pieces. You can get the kids involved. Like I said, make this an interactive kind of party for them if they have friends over. So it's fun little dessert. Since school's about to start, I thought it would be fun to share it with you guys. With that said, thank you, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. All right.